Some of the most powerful moments in the Bible come from people no one expects. People others ignore, overlook, or forget. But God never forgets them. And sometimes He uses the very people society pushes aside to bring the biggest breakthroughs. This is one of those stories. Samaria was in serious trouble. An enemy army surrounded the entire city, cutting off food and supplies. Inside the walls, people were starving. Smoke rose from empty cooking pots, and families struggled just to stay alive. Mothers tried to comfort their children, and guards stood on the walls with worried eyes, hoping for a miracle. Outside the city gates sat 4 men with leprosy, men everyone else avoided. Their clothes were worn out, and life had beaten them down. But even though they were outcasts, they still had fire in their eyes. As the sun set behind them, they talked about their situation. One of them finally said,
"If we stay here, we'll die. If we go into the city, we'll die. Let's try the enemy camp. Maybe they'll spare us, and if not, we were going to die anyway."
So that night, the 4 men began walking toward the enemy camp. The desert was dark and quiet, with only the moon lighting their path. Their shadows stretched behind them as they moved forward. But something was happening that they couldn't see. The ground rumbled softly, the air shimmered, and it sounded like a huge army was marching, even though no soldiers were there at all. God was working behind the scenes. When the lepers finally reached the enemy camp, they were stunned. The camp was massive. Tents everywhere, fires still burning, food laid out on tables. But every soldier was gone. It looked like they had run for their lives. One of the men lifted the lid of a pot and found fresh, warm food inside. His eyes went wide, and the others rushed into different tents, laughing and shouting. They ate, drank clean water, and started picking up silver, clothes, and supplies. For the first time in a long time, they felt alive. But then, in the middle of their excitement, one of them stopped. He looked at the treasure in his hands and grew serious.
"This is a day of good news," he said quietly. "We can't keep this to ourselves."
Early the next morning, the 4 men ran back toward the city, kicking up dust as the sun began to rise. The sky turned gold and pink as they shouted up to the gatekeepers on the wall. The guards leaned over, lanterns flickering behind them, shocked by what they were hearing. Moments later, a messenger rushed into the king's tent. He whispered the news, and the king's face lit up with surprise and hope. Soon the city gates burst open as crowds poured out toward the enemy camp. People ran with joy, laughing, crying, and praising God as they saw food, freedom, and safety waiting for them. And as the sun rose over the desert, lighting up the empty camp and the peaceful city behind it, one truth became clear. God had saved Samaria through the very people everyone else had written off. This story reminds us that God can use anyone, absolutely anyone, to bring change, hope, and miracles. Even people who feel forgotten, broken, or left out. God sees them. God loves them. And God can work through them in incredible ways. Never count yourself out. God's not done with you.